This one's for you, the Doctor. Buggy is getting so much page time, and with every new reveal that comes with this character, I get happier and happier. Every new reveal just gets better. We're gonna save the Buggy talk for the end of this video because in this house we save the best for last. But I just wanted to open the video with some Buggy love because I gotta say, I've had a rough week and reading this chapter it made me so happy. But if you don't know, the way I do my One Piece reviews is I wait until we're on break week and then I talk about the previous chapters grouped together in one space, but I still read them week to week over on my Patreon, so you can check that out if you want to hang out with me while I read every week. We have a great community over there, but this week we only had 2 chapters before our break, 1057 and 1058, one of which I have very mixed feelings about, and one of which, frankly, was perfect. But we're gonna start with 1057 and we'll go ahead and get the negatives out of the way up front because Oda sure did. So at the very beginning of 1057, we get the reveal that Yamato is not setting sail with our crew and instead touring Wano just like Oden did at the beginning of his journeys. And so here's the thing. I like Yamato the character, perfectly fine, but I was not invested either way. I know the fandom has had its camps for a long time and feels strongly about its camps. I have been firmly in the I don't really care section. I like Yamato, so I'm fine with if we have to have another crew member, then sure, why not? Yamato, Carrot, Vivi, I like all these characters, any of them would be fine. My camp was more in, I don't really feel like I need another Straw Hat. I know Luffy has said at the beginning 10 crew members and he wasn't counting himself, and so we will probably get another one, but I personally don't need another crew member because our crew is already not getting very many crew interactions anymore. It's already been a long time since they've even all been together, let alone had some meaningful downtime to just chill and hang out and laugh and have good chemistry together. And I have missed that so much. So for me, I don't feel the need to expand the crew. I feel the need to narrow in our focus on them more strongly. Just from a narrative perspective, introducing a character and then have that character say over and over and over again, I'm setting sail with Luffy, I'm joining Luffy's crew, even so much as going to the crew and saying, hey, I'm a part of your crew now. Repeatedly saying, this is what I'm gonna do, and then having an off-screen conversation and completely flipping that decision is bad. Again, I'm not invested with it going either way. I just don't like the way it was done. Now, here's the way it looks to me. Oda loves having a big twist at the end of a saga. He loves subverting expectations. So Vivi, it looked like she was gonna join the crew and then she couldn't, and there was a really good reason why she didn't. She had to stay behind and take care of her kingdom and help rebuild what had been destroyed by Crocodile. Jinbei agreed to join our crew and then had to stay behind to take care of some stuff before he could meet up with us and finally join. That's from a character perspective. From a plot perspective, you also have stuff like the end of Marineford, where we thought we were gonna save Ace and have our brother freed, but instead he died, and in fact the entire crew was separated, right? So like at the end of a saga, and I could keep naming things, there's plenty of examples out. At the end of a saga, Oda loves to completely subvert our expectations. He loves to build us up to something and then do something really, really different. And to me, that's what this looks like, is that he's been building us up to Yamato joining the crew only to take a hard left turn, and I'm waiting to see, so what's he gonna do instead then? Maybe it's Carrot, maybe Carrot's a stowaway, maybe it's Vivi. She's only just now entered the story again in a pretty significant way. Oda's drawing eyes to her. Maybe something else, I don't know. But to me, so here's the thing. This has already been talked about a ton, obviously, so you probably don't need me to rehash all the things. So all I'll say is that if Yamato, if that's what he was trying to do, then I would have preferred for Yamato to be saying throughout this entire arc, I'm going to set sail, I'm going to the sea, I'm going to travel the sea with a crew. And for him to align those lines with the Straw Hats so that the subtext looks like we're getting another crew member in Yamato, but in fact, it was never outright said. And so when the twist happens, we can all step back and say, well, well, I guess we did draw conclusions there, rather than it being such a painfully obvious, this is what we're doing, only to be like, nah, actually off-screen conversation, no, we're not. I do have a little bit of hope in this resolving in at least mildly satisfying way, and that is in this one panel as they're leaving, which I'm jumping around here, but in this one panel as they're leaving and Luffy calls back to Yamato, watch out for him, Yamato, speaking of Momo, and Yamato replies, I will. And this is me really reaching, because I desperately want some satisfying resolution here, but I hope that that is an indicator that the off-screen conversation between Yamato and Luffy was, okay, Momo and the Red Scabbards could not have taken down Green Bull on their own. And Green Bull made a good point that now that Kaido is gone, there could potentially be a lot of new threats coming in. And really what they need is more muscle. So Yamato, you gotta stay, you gotta take care of Momo, you gotta take care of Wano. And Yamato saying, absolutely, you're right, I will for now, and then I'll set sail, and then I'll join you, and then I'll do whatever. And hopefully we'll see that conversation in a flashback, because the reason that Yamato gave is very poor, right? Like, I'm gonna tour Wano, okay? That makes sense to me. You've been a prisoner for the majority of your life, so wanting to see the rest of the country, even though it's a wasteland, of course you would. That completely makes sense. You've probably wanted to see the rest of the country for your entire life. But we've been chilling in Wano for a long time since Kaido was defeated. So Yamato could have had that tour during the time skip that we didn't get to see, we the readers didn't get to see, while Yamato was fasting and not bathing. Could have also toured Wano. It's just the opportunities were already there and they weren't taken, so I hope that the reason is because that's not the real reason, and we'll revisit that. But I'm gonna keep talking about that in a minute. While we're here, let's just keep complaining, shall we? I have a lot to gush about in this video, but let's just go ahead and get both the negatives out of the way. Right off the bat, this is another one that's already been talked about so much, so I'm gonna hit it briefly, and that's the Hiyori thing. So I know that a lot of people have a lot of opinions on this. Some people think that it totally makes sense for Hiyori's character. Some people think that it's really sour note to end on, and I see both sides. I'm in the sour note side. I think for Hiyori's character, here's the thing. 20 years of oppression, of slavery, of having your people worked to death, and then the fruits of those labors, watching your family members drop, and the fruits of those labors brings those factories producing toxins into your water so that you no longer have clean drinking water, so that all the food is being hoarded in the capital so that you're starving, and then being given smile fruits to eat that would give you the curse of not even being able to mourn this torturous situation that you're in, all for Orochi's entertainment. I mean, like, the stuff that these people have suffered in the last 20 years, I think narratively, it would not work for Hiyori and for the country as a whole to end this arc saying, okay, Orochi's gone, Kaido's gone, we move forward into happiness and forward thinking. It wouldn't be satisfying for them to just shake off that oppression, to dust themselves off and say, and now we have a new future. No, like, there's gonna be some trauma left behind, there's gonna be some grudges held, there's gonna be some bad thinking. And for Hiyori, who watched her parents die, who lost her brother, who was raised by a man who was so filled with hate and anger that his face twisted and changed, and she was raised by him. To be raised, which by the way I loved in Jiro, to be raised in that environment with your own baggage and being raised by someone with their baggage, and to watch your country crumble and suffer, and to have so little power to change it. For Hiyori to walk away from that not with some real baggage would be terrible. So as far as Hiyori saying you were meant to burn, whether it was for the Kazuki line in general or whether it was for Orochi himself, this makes sense to me. Now, I definitely am not of the opinion that Hiyori, if there were any other Kazumis to pop up like Atama, I'm definitely not of the opinion that Hiyori would then hunt down those people and persecute them, and now we're going from one, tyrant to the next. No, I don't think that that's what's happening here. But for Hiyori to be in this state of mind and to deliver these lines, and for Wano the country to deliver these kinds of lines and to be chanting it along with her, this makes sense to me from a character perspective. For them to shake off their oppression would not sit well with me. But it also doesn't sit well with me to end Wano on this note because of what Wano has been, because of the themes that we've been exploring. To end it here does also feel bad. So I say all that to say this. I have enjoyed Wano. I have loved the arc so much. But I won't pretend that I have enjoyed the ending on the same level. And in fact, I have found the ending to feel rushed and quite chaotic and disjointed. I know a lot of people are feeling that way. I know a lot of people aren't. That's cool. Live your life. That's definitely where I've landed with it. I still love Wano the arc, but the ending has been disappointing. And I have a whole review coming out where I'm going to really dig into Wano and discuss it as a whole arc. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that here today, but I do want to address that my hope, my dream is that a big part of why so many threads have been left open, so many things have not been addressed, which I will talk about more in depth in the video to come, is because Wano's not over. Pluton's still here, Momo's still here, Yamato's still here, the Red Scabbards are still here. Characters that we've spent literally half the series with have been left behind. And it's not uncommon for Oda to seemingly finish talking about something in what is an unsatisfying way because he's going to further build on it elsewhere and then bring it back around and make it far more satisfying. He's a long game storyteller. So my hope is that the reason so many doors have been left open in Wano, both in plot threads and in, like with this Hiyori thing, with it ending on a really weird note, my hope is the reason these doors have been left open is because Oda plans to go away, do something else, and then come back and shut those doors in a far more meaningful way than he could have done otherwise. So, for instance, Wano ending on, okay, we're done being oppressed, let's move forward in joy and in progress. That wouldn't feel good. So ending on this note, only for Luffy to come back to Wano and for us to readdress this and to expand on it further, I think would be a far more satisfying ending. And I just really, 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 really hope that that's Oda's plan. Because if it's not, then it's gonna be a big bummer for me. I've spent a lot more time on this negative side of things than I really meant to, but also I think these things are important to discuss because they really are kind of a bumski. Again, I want to dig into all that more when I do my Wano video, and I know that the fandom has spent a lot of time talking about all this already, but if you were interested in where I stood on these things, there it is. Now, let's talk about Momo. I think scenes like what we got in this chapter with Momo are extremely important to include because Momo is now in an adult's body, but he is still a child. He is still an 8-year-old. And I think that Oda did a phenomenal job in this chapter of showing that. With Momo, in the chapter before this one, I'm pretty sure it was the one before this one, we got Momo walking through the streets and people calling out to him and excited to see him and treating him like their new leader, and him just not even acknowledging them, just walking forward. And the reason was because he was looking for the crew. He was looking for the people that actually know who he is. And then when he found out that they had left without saying goodbye, he went into hysterics. I mean, he threw a tantrum, and that tantrum is continued in this chapter where he's absolutely livid at them. Seeing him rage and hurting and remembering all that he and Luffy have been through and feeling so betrayed that Luffy wouldn't say goodbye to him. And then, Kinemon going into this extreme protectiveness and being mad with him and then hunting down Luffy and being so furious. And once we get there, we see, you know, he transforms back into his adult self and we see him in such a rage, and then we turn the page and he just crumbles and he begs them to stay. And we need scenes like this from Momo to remember that he is still a child in order for this plot line of him being put in an adult's body and his body aging up but his mind staying a child. We need scenes like this in order for that plot point to work. And I thought it was done so well. And then following that up with Luffy, you know, tossing the flag on him, telling him, people see you this new way, but I know who you are inside. It's validation of what we saw in the previous chapter of him, you know, being seen in this new way, but him just like not wanting it and just wanting the people who know him. And then Luffy validating that and saying, I know who you are. I know who you really are. And who you really are is my little brother. Him declaring this his territory and giving him a flag for him to hang up so that people know that he'll come back for him. Like this is what I wanted as the goodbye for these characters that have been with us for half the series. This is exactly what I would have wanted for this part of the chapter, for this scene. I thought it was pulled off flawlessly. It brought all the emotions I wanted. It was incredible. We also got some awesome typical One Piece humor with Luffy and Law and Kid bickering and arguing, and Kid baiting him and saying, oh yeah, take the safe route, and then Luffy just like not allowing that, and you know, I just and then them all jumping over the waterfall. I love it. We got the typical One Piece emotions and payoff with the Momo stuff. We got the One Piece humor that I love in that scene. Really some great scenes in this chapter, bookended by some not so great scenes for me, in my opinion. I know not everyone feels that way. Okay, that was a long time on one chapter. Shoot. All right, next chapter. We're gonna spend a long time on here too, because to me, this was a 10 out of 10 chapter. 1058 was perfect, and I will tell you all about why. This chapter basically delivered everything that I wanted out of this chapter and more. I've been saying, and I think a lot of people have, that the way we want this saga to open up is just with some crew interactions. Just slow down, let them laugh together, let them bicker and fight, let them be on the ship and be the crew. I'll speak for myself because the fandom, you know, people have different opinions. I have missed this so much. I have wanted to just chill out with the crew and laugh for so long. And oh, I'm so happy because that's what this chapter was. These few panels were so jam-packed with so much character personality along with the bounty reveals. So we got, you know, some standard, okay, you guys have been raised because you're now the crew of a Yonko, you're now the crew of Luffy the Yonko, so every single one of you, even the ones that we don't really recognize that much yet, you go ahead and get a standard raising a bounty as well, plus the big bounty reveals. And I love that we got these numbers, we got these reveals along with characters' personalities and along with gags. So the Chopper gag, I love. I want it to keep going until the very end, to where we're in the final battle and everybody underestimates Chopper and everybody's like, oh, that one. No need to worry about him. And then he goes Monster Chopper and he takes out an entire fleet of people. You know, like I love this gag of him just not really getting recognized, even though we know that he has a lot in him, and I can't wait for other people to underestimate him because of these bounties, only to realize how wrong they've been this whole time. I would love for him to just knock out a bunch of admirals because he's Monster Chopper. We've got the Nami gag of her wanting to turn herself in. I think that's so funny. I think it's hilarious that she realizes that she's in 9 digits now. And so she's like, can I collect on that? Let me go turn myself in so I can have that money. And I know it's a joke. She's not gonna do that. She's not actually considering that. Don't worry. But her greed, that's hilarious. That's amazing little character gag along with the reveal. Brook couldn't be happier about his. He's just happy to be recognized and he deserves it. He is such an MVP for this crew. every single time. He never takes the full spotlight, but he is always one of the most valuable players. Franky getting a little bit more recognition, but also with the gag of it's not actually his picture on the bounty poster, which I'm waiting for the other half of that gag. I'm waiting for the plot reveal after the Sanji gag with his bounty poster not actually being him, and that ended up being a major thing. Now I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop for Franky, because that could go in a lot of different ways. Usopp continuing to get recognized just like he always wants. He always wants to be overestimated, right? Like he's constantly telling lies about himself. He's constantly building himself to be more than he actually is, but he doesn't want that to pay off in any significant way. He just wants clout, but he doesn't want anything to be expected of him when it comes down to it. And so with the White Guard recognizing him, that's not the kind of recognition he wants. Robin getting her much deserved recognition as well, and then seemingly just not even caring, taking care of Chopper, comforting him, making him feel better about his bounty. Probably my favorite one of all of this. And then we get the reveals of Sanji, Jinbei, and Zoro. I love the running joke of Zoro putting down Sanji every time he's lower than him. I'm really surprised. I think of all of these bounties, the one that surprises me the most is Jinbei's. Now, Jinbei has been an important player for a long time. He is well respected and important among the fishmen. He was a really important member of Big Mom's crew organization. He mattered to her. And I'm sure the White Guard have been aware of him for a long time. And so him now defecting and joining Luffy's crew, the one that the White Guard has their eyes on the strongest, them immediately pumping up his bounty numbers doesn't surprise me. From a narrative perspective, it is interesting to me because we just came off the heels. I mean, I don't know in reality how long ago it was, but in the story timeline, we just came off the heels of Zoro and Sanji being declared Luffy's wings. And so to then follow that up with just inserting Jinbei between them feels weird to me. I mean, I'm not bothered by it, but I'm surprised by it. I would have thought that they would still be number 1 and 2 behind Luffy. And while Jinbei getting a huge bounty doesn't surprise me, it does surprise me, the ordering. And then one of the best panels of this chapter, of the many, many, many wonderful panels, is Luffy getting, for the first time, the nameplate of Emperor, right? Like, for the first time, he's being introduced in this way by the narrator. I think it's the first time. And he's beaten up in a cage with the boys bickering behind him. Even in the page before this, we got so much character stuff packed in together. We've got Franky flexing, we have Zoro sleeping, Jinbei being surprised at, like, oh, Nami, can you do that to our captain? Maybe calm down, what's going on? Thinking that she might have Conqueror's Haki because of how livid she is, and the whole rest of the crew not being fussed over what she's doing at all. We have so much of the characters that we know on display in such a condensed period of time, and this entire 2 pages of the bounty reveal and of the crew interacting. This is what I wanted from this chapter. And then we have the best part of the chapter. The majority of this chapter is dedicated to some amazing characters. Y'all know I love Buggy. I'm also a massive fan of crocodiles, and Mihawk is cool. I know he's the strongest of them all, but you know, you love who you love. These panels made me so happy. First of all, the opening spread, seeing them holding Buggy's head above his body while he's crying out, begging for mercy, and they're all just mad at him that he's gotten so much attention as the leader of the Cross Guild, even though, predictably, it was Crocodile and Mihawk's actual conception. And in fact, Buggy had less to do with it than I even imagined, and I fully expected it to be Crocodile's idea. The White Guard disbanding the Order of the Warlords is predictably a terrible decision, and now they've teamed up and they're turning on them. And we get to see that Crocodile called Mihawk and said, hey, let's band together. And these panels, first of all, Crocodile looks so cool when he's taking out all of these ships. The fact that Crocodile came to Buggy to collect on his debt, which Buggy did not have to give back to him because he ran his own business into the ground. But of course, the people around Buggy misunderstood and thought, oh, hey, look, Crocodile's protecting us because he's Buggy's subordinate. You have the fact that Crocodile didn't even invite Buggy into this venture. And in fact, he was like, give me my money so that I can do this thing that I have planned. And Buggy just begged, please, just let me work off my debt. Let me work for you. I'll work my butt off to help you in your venture so that you don't kill me. And when Buggy made the poster, or had one of his subordinates make the poster, and the subordinate was like, of course you should be front and center, Buggy. We love you. And Buggy didn't even want that. He didn't even want the poster to look this way. It freaked him out. He's terrified of Crocodile and Mihawk. But once again, around every corner, everyone is misunderstanding everything that happens around Buggy, and he just falls upward. I love this gag. I love Buggy's character. I love the humor around him. I love that he will never stop falling up. I live for memes, and Buggy is a walking, talking meme, and it makes me so happy that Oda finds this so funny, because I absolutely do too. And the fact that Buggy has been assigned a bigger bounty than Luffy is just, it's so funny to me. It's hilarious to me. In the same chapter that we get Luffy's giant berry bounty reveal, a huge deal, just a few pages later, more page time is dedicated to Buggy than to Luffy. Luffy's page time is in a cage being beat up by Nami, and Buggy's page time is being beat up by Mihawk and Croc, and him begging for his life. This whole chapter is just loaded with, in my opinion, perfect humor. And with all that amazing dynamics between characters that I love. I love our crew. I love seeing them together. I love how much crew dynamic and individual character personalities Oda packed into those panels with the crew, and then how much humor and personality and these hilarious reveals that Oda packed into the spreads for the Cross Guild. It's brilliant. I was smiling and laughing the entire way through. And then ending on the other thing that One Piece does so, so well, and that is the lore and the world and the intricate ways that it's all connected and the mysteries and all that goodness. And again, I'm telling you, like, Oda wrote this chapter for me because Kuma is the character. Anytime I've chatted with any One Piece person and they've asked, what's the mystery that you're the most excited to see revealed? It's always been Kuma for me. I've been saying this for so long. It's Kuma. I want to know about his past. I want to know about the kingdom that he once ruled. I want to understand more about his relationship with Bonnie. I want to know why the world government, why the Celestial Dragons and all them were wanting him so badly. I want to know what he did when he was protecting the Sunny for that period of time. There's so much that I want to know about this character. And now here Oda is showing him with the Revolutionary Army. For some reason, he's going to follow Dragon's commands. I know some people are theorizing that that means Dragon is a celestial dragon, which would be very interesting to me. But for some reason, Kuma is going to tell him his story. I want to know at what level of Kuma is left. Is he just this robotic, mindless machine that follows commands? Is there some of him left? Is there some of him that can be healed? Can Chopper heal him? But the fact that Oda is promising that we're going to get some answers, which could mean that we're not going to get them for years to come. Oda, please don't do that to me. But we're at least going to get them at some point, which I'm so grateful for. And then Sabo is calling in. There's a lot that I'm very excited about in these 2 pages that this chapter ended on. I'm very interested in the Revolutionary Army. I'm very interested in Kuma. I love Koala, and I'm desperate to know what this phone call is going to be. The character-focused chapter, coupled with incredible reveals, this was exactly what I would have wanted this chapter to be to open up the new saga. So there you go. Had a lot to say in this one, but these 2 chapters, there was a lot to discuss in them. I'll be interested to hear what you think. Did you enjoy them, or what was your favorite and least favorite part of these 2 chapters? Feel free to chat with me more about it in the comments. Check out my Patreon if you feel like it. We chat there all the time. I post videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, Tuesdays and Thursdays on the second channel. I'll see you again soon. Bye.